Followers, senior forecaster Mike Estwick here is with you. Good evening, everyone. This is senior forecaster Mike Estwick, Ohio Valley Weather Watch, along with meteorologist Austin Stanton. Joining us tonight is the guy who makes the magic all happen, managing forecaster Tony Merriweather, owner of the Ohio Valley Weather Watch page, coming here with a live severe weather alert. So we'll go ahead and give it a few minutes, give it a minute or so here for people to see the stream is on and join. Watch the counter start moving up here.
Yeah, while everybody's coming in, Mike, I think it's wise to say that, we've had some nice conditions. It's been quiet. It's been a quiet day today, which is something that we really could have used. But today was a great day to start preparing for severe weather. So as people get in here, I hope that they really utilize today and hopefully tomorrow as well to really have their severe weather plans in place.
That's for sure. I socialized that starting right out of the gates this morning with the forecast, the morning forecast packages that I wrote for the page, and I was short of actually being on my knees begging people to do it. I said, please use today to prepare. Get your weather radio set up, wireless emergency alerts on, finalize your safety plans for tomorrow, because it's not if you're going to need them, it's when will you need them, and will you be able to execute them smoothly and with a reasonably clear head. And Tony, I know we've been talking here amongst ourselves for the better part of the afternoon and into the evening here, and to say the least, Tony, this is a very concerning setup.
Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, while I was out working today, I ran into quite a few people who follow the page, and they were talking about how they're terrified of these storms that we're going to get tomorrow. And I pretty much let them know that we're not dealing with what is a typical severe weather setup. This is a severe weather setup that is kind of rare for our area.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Go ahead, Austin.
I just wanted to throw in there that I think as people are coming in, Mike is the owner of the Ohio Valley Weather Watch page, but not just the owner of the page, but also a very
Tony
experienced Tony.
Austin, come on, man.
See,
You're so used to dealing with me. Yeah, Tony is the owner.
Austin fired me already.
No. And see, here I am. I was trying to throw out a compliment here too, and I messed it up already. Oh gosh. But no, so Tony is the owner of the Ohio Valley Weather Watch page, and I just wanted to throw out some credit to him because not only is he the owner of the page, but he's also a very experienced forecaster. And this was a situation that he called out well over 7 days ago, to be on the lookout for. So, it's such a great pleasure to have Mike on with us tonight, especially in such an urgent matter as we'll be discussing for this evening as we prepare for the severe weather outbreak tomorrow, because his expertise brings a lot to the table.
For sure. Hey, Austin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out where you're at, and I'm going to have Tony drive over there and pull up on you, because you're getting, you're getting him. You called him me again. So I mean that's fine. We even kind of sound alike. That's not the first time that that's happened.
Get out of here. No.
It will only take me about 15 minutes to get to Newburgh.
Yeah, I know we're pretty close to each other, so it's not going to take him long. I'm hold on, let me go lock the doors real quick. I'll be right back.
That's fine. But hey, in all seriousness, guys, we're very fortunate to have Tony joining us here along with Austin and myself here. And yes, I know I'm kind of the voice of Ohio Valley Weather Watch, but it's Tony's page. He brings a wealth of forecasting, especially medium and long range forecasting experience to the table. So if he says you need to sit up and pay attention, then I think you would be well advised to do that. And then you take a look here at the map we're sharing on the screen. There you see tomorrow's severe weather outlook, and that moderate risk that they inserted isn't too far off from what I had suggested in the prior live streams there. So it's good to see that the Storm Prediction Center thinking in that I wasn't wildly off target with my target area as far as the forecasting and so forth as well too. But we'll go ahead and dive a little deeper into that here. We'll pull up the graphics here So, and these are all of tomorrow's graphics. So this is a closer look at the one here. And I will do all four states for you as well here. I will also do Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. So you can see the moderate risk. Marion is in. Mount Vernon, you're so close that you practically are in. And then pretty much the other part that's not in the moderate risk, I would say probably about 80% of that that's not in the moderate risk is in the enhanced risk tomorrow. Effingham, Champaign, Chicago metro area, including the suburbs, all the way out to Aurora, Central Illinois, Bloomington, Normal, Peoria, the state capital of Springfield, East St. Louis is all there. Let's go ahead and switch. We'll take a look here, the tornado outlook. So the one thing that's definitely concerning here is if you take a look in probability of a tornado within 25 miles of a given point. So we're into roughly a 1 in 3 chance of a tornado within 25 miles of any place you choose to land in that red area. And it is hatched. So we've got, just like we had Sunday, a 1 in 10 chance or better of an EF2 or stronger tornado. So we're talking strong, violent tornadoes that could also be long tracked and long lived. Okay. And then the wind is going to be, look at that. So basically the entire Ohio Valley and the lower Great Lakes has a good chance of getting blown over tomorrow, if not by a tornado, by damaging straight line winds upwards of 74 miles per hour or better. So to put that in perspective, you are looking at essentially a high-end tropical storm or a category 1 hurricane. So that is what we've got there. Let's go back and we're going to retreat the same situation here. We'll go back to day 2, take a look at Indiana now, and come down here. So this is the categorical outlook. Evansville is in the bullseye in the danger zone. Corydon, Jasper, Vincennes, Owensboro, Kentucky is. Newburgh, Indiana is as well. So definitely significant opportunity there. We'll come here to the tornado outlook. There you can see it there. And again, the concerning part, the entire area with the 10% or better risk, it's hatched. So that's the Storm Prediction Center indicating they are extremely concerned of impactful tornadoes tomorrow. You saw the wind, the entire state of Indiana and a good chunk of the state of Ohio, all of Illinois, and about 2/3 of Kentucky. So I probably won't do the wind for Ohio and Kentucky, but there you see it there. Hail, look at that, severe hail. So that is the potential for golf ball sized hail or larger in the area. And look at that. That is basically the southern 2/3 of Indiana and not quite half of Illinois, potentially with that. So let's go ahead. We'll come back out. Stay with day 2. Let's drop down to Kentucky and take a look at those risks very quickly. So you've seen the bullseye: Paducah, Madisonville, Owensboro. Louisville is so close. I would go ahead and put yourselves in the red, even though technically you're in the enhanced risk. I would put yourselves in the red and treat it as a moderate risk. So basically, the western third, or about 35% maybe, of Kentucky is really in the danger zone. We'll come over here. Tornado outlook again, that 1 in 10 chance of an EF2 or stronger tornado, or at least a 1 in 10 chance. About 3/4 of the state of Kentucky, severe wind possible, hail, not quite half of the state, but pretty close. And last but not least, we'll take a look at Ohio. Ohio is, relatively speaking, faring a little bit better. They just got the enhanced risk. There's no moderate there. That's not to say that this may not shift and move a little bit tonight, because there's one more guaranteed Storm Prediction Center outlook coming up here around midnight. And then the Storm Prediction Center will issue a special update if they deem it necessary. Okay, so there's that. Tornado outlook, basically the western, about 35-40% of the state. Cincy, Dayton, all the way up to Findlay in play there. Severe wind, about 3/4 of the state. As far east as Cleveland. Draw a straight line basically from Cleveland to Portsmouth, if you're along and west of that line. And then down here, severe hail. Fortunately, severe hail, that golf ball sized hail or better, forecast at the moment to remain out of the state of Ohio. So that kind of sets the table for you as to what's going on. So, Austin, what else should we share with the viewers here? And Tony, please feel free to chime in anytime you want.
Yeah, Mike, I think that was really great coverage there of kind of what to expect, areas that will be impacted by this. I think one part that we also have to address here is that the area for the moderate risk is very similar to what we're seeing for the area with the most risk for flooding and that flood threat as well. So that's something to really pay attention to because over the next 3 to 4 days, we're going to be seeing anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rainfall right around where that moderate risk is. So that's definitely something that we're going to want to keep an eye on, especially if you live close to the river. That is going to be very impactful besides just the tornadoes, and it's going to be just another issue that we have to deal with in the coming days.
And there you go, right there. Austin was sharing with you the flood risk right there. The lighter green, those are flood warnings, and those are right along the rivers and tributaries feeding in the rivers there. The dark green is the flood watch. So that's why we have a severe weather alert now through the weekend, because on top of just the flat out severe weather that looks like it's going to come through and knock us on our rear ends, you've got a significant flooding threat as well. And Tony, we can talk a little bit about the flooding threat there because you and I were kind of discussing that sidebar earlier today.
Right. And if you want to kind of use a comparison concerning the flooding, just think back to what happened down in two portions of western and south central Kentucky, all the flooding that they had from a heavy rain event that we had, what was it, a month ago
I
or
believe it
so?
was.
Um, we could potentially be facing a situation just like that, if not worse, because 10 to 15 inches of rain is a lot of rain to get in a very short period of time. And you're talking about creeks overflowing. Uh, People who live near rivers need to be alert. Like Austin said, uh, this is really nothing that you want to mess around with. If you live in a flood prone area, if you live in an area that you know floods all the time, you need to move to higher ground.
And let's take a look here. I brought up this is the Weather Prediction Center. This is the day two excessive rainfall outlook, day two, because day one it'll turn to day one after midnight. But there you can see right here, right in the red, that's where the highest risk for us to potentially have, and that's a moderate, that's at least a 40% chance. So you're looking at a 4 in 10 at a minimum chance of significant excessive rainfall coming through the area. So let's take a look here at the 48-hour precipitation. Let's see if we can get that to load in here. Okay, the 48 won't, but the 72 will. So let's take a look and we'll zoom in on that. So there's your scale down there. And if you take a look, you can see we've got 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of 6 inches of rain possible, and I'm actually getting a little bit of a rumble of thunder outside. Full disclosure, I'm reasonably safe from all of this because I'm way across the country. I'm physically located in Colorado, and we've got showers and storms moving through the air through my area here. So if you hear thunder in the background, it's not around you guys, it's around me. But anyway, we're upwards of 6, 7, even 8 inch possible rain totals right there where you see the gold and the brown on the map there. So definitely, y'all, in addition to the severe weather, you also have to think about potentially a flood. And I know that's kind of contradictory to have those two events so close to each other, and the logic to protect yourselves from them is almost diametrically opposite. Tornado, lowest floor of a site built structure near the center away from windows. Flood, you want to get to higher ground. So this is definitely a very challenging, very complex multi-mode threat, Tony and Austin.
Right. And it definitely looks like we could be looking at a historical flood event region across the region.
No question about that here. Looking at some of these precipitation estimates, this is just unreal here. It looks like Austin may have dropped off because maybe with computer issues or whatever. I'm sure he'll be back on here momentarily though. So we can take a look. Tony and I will go ahead and continue to take you through this. And there's another example of the tornado outlook there. 15% on the pivotal weather site because they handle their percentages and so forth slightly different. I see Austin's rejoined there, and then again that significant tornado hatching there. But let's shift gears and get away from that and actually take a look at some of our model data, and we're well within range of the high res forecast model. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm just going to shift gears. We'll dive into the data here. Precipitation. Okay, and the zero Z HER is actually in. So this is the latest run available of the HER. So there you can see there is there's a line. Now, here's one thing I will tell you, and Austin, you and I were talking about this. So this might be a perfect time for that graphic that we were discussing just before we came on the air that shows the placement of the lows currently and the potential track, because there could well be one get out of jail free card with this event. And Austin, so you know what? Let me go ahead and I'll go ahead and let you get that pulled up and you can show that on the screen. But this is the latest output from the high res rapid refresh here, which is indicating maybe a little bit of rain out,
Yeah,
but not a whole lot. Go ahead.
no, you're right, Mike. And there's there's this area between where we'll see the low pressure, the cold front, and the warm front, and what that's called our warm sector. So let me make sure that I have this pulled up correctly here, and then there we go. I can get my screen shared here in just a second. But the area between the low pressure, it kind of makes a triangle. The low pressure, the cold front, and the warm front, that is called the warm sector, and that is kind of just an area where you get warm air flowing in. You can get different directions of winds, creating wind shear, and so that's kind of the area of the triangle where you'll see a lot more severe storms develop here. Now, if I want to make sure that I get my screen shared properly here, let's see. It doesn't look like it's liking me right now.
Okay, well that's no problem. Let me go ahead and come back up here because you know what I
There
am.
we
Well, you
go.
know,
I just
you
got
got
it.
it. Okay,
Yep.
good. I
Sorry
was going to
about
say
that.
otherwise I could hand draw for you on top of the pivotal weather map. And our thanks, by the way, to Pivotal Weather for the fantastic work that they do, providing graphics for anybody to use to take a look at weather data. Go ahead, Austin.
All right, yeah. So here we go. So we have this low pressure area right here. You'll see that's kind of central between Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas and Missouri, right there, and it's already kind of making that triangle shape. So when we hit play here, we see that low pressure kind of shift off to the northeast. Now, granted, at that point when it shifts off to the northeast there, all the way at the end, it doesn't necessarily look like a triangle anymore. But take a look in southern Indiana, right in this area, right where Evansville would be. That is kind of in place where all that warm air would be coming in. Now, if that low pressure shoots off far to the north like that, what that's going to do is pull the system much further north, especially the early part of the system, which will have a lot of rain with it. So if we don't see any of those morning showers that get pulled up here in this region, such as like Chicago, Gary, Indiana, that area there, they will see a lot of rainfall and the atmosphere will kind of break down for them, but we would stay dry down here and see a bit of a clearing. Now, that would create more destabilization throughout the day, allowing for that tornado threat to really have an opportunity to develop. But let's say that low pressure, instead of being where it's at there in southern Wisconsin, there actually ends up a little bit closer to, let's say, central Illinois. that would actually bring some of that early rain and some of those early thunderstorms throughout the morning into our area, taking away some of that convection for us and kind of restabilizing the atmosphere. And then that low level jet would actually weaken a little bit as well and have to re-intensify during the afternoon to really see that tornado threat ramp up for us. So, if we're hoping for a fail in this, it would be that the low pressure swings a little bit further south. Um, don't bet on that. Don't bet on that. I'm just putting this out there that there is an opportunity, and to be the devil's advocate here in forecasting that, yes, the likely scenario is we're going to see some severe weather. And that is why the SPC is actually putting a moderate risk out on day 2. And then you also have that tornado risk at 15%. Usually they won't issue that until roughly almost the same day, depending on the situation there. So, they're very confident in the tornado threat developing, but there is a small chance that we could see this tornado threat actually be, I wouldn't say gone, but just a little bit less significant if that low pressure made its way just a little bit further south there, Mike.
That's a good synopsis of that. And if we take a look here, and Tony, you got anything you want to add to what Austin said there?
I probably will here in just a second. I'm just taking a look at some of the data on HRRR. I'm looking at the soundings over Evansville are currently PDS tornado.
Okay,
That's 00Z.
and that's very concerning to say the least here. So I think, well, let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and hop up here and share screen because I've been doing a little kind of child's artwork over here. And let me see. Okay, I cleared it off. So let me go ahead and redo it. But so what Austin was talking about is that we kind of got, so here's the low, and you see the placement of the low here is keeping Evansville dry because Evansville and the tri-state kind of put a little dot there. So what we've got here is you kind of got cold front there. You're going to have another one kind of here, and then this is going to be your warm sector, your warm front. So what Austin is talking about is all of this right here. We've got, and I'm making that green on purpose. I know it might be hard to see, but that is all of that warm, moist air off of the Gulf coming up into the area that will fuel the development of these storms out ahead of this front. Because what we're seeing in the data here is that, and Austin had it up there on the last graphic, this low, this surface low is actually it's got a twin barreled setup in the respect that it's basically dragging two cold fronts along with it, right? So, and that's not something that you see all the time. But typically, when you get these lows that are really wrapped up, really dynamic, really intense, you sometimes can see that. You can see multiple iterations of fronts associated with the central core of the low pressure system.
Yeah, and Mike, you can see just based on your picture there, right? You have the warm front off to the east that's kind of, pushing away. Then you have the cold front coming in from the west that'll be pushing towards us. And then you also have the warm, moist air that'll be coming off from the south. And then you have that rotating low pressure that is going to be pulling everything further north with it. So you have multiple different directions of winds and shear, and so when you get these multi-directional winds, that is the wind shear, right? Especially as it gets further north. And that is one of the reasons that the tornado risk is so high, is because we're going to see so much shear involved in this, and that's why even if that low pressure did come in a little bit more south, which it doesn't look like it's going to, but even if it did, there is plenty of opportunity for the atmosphere to restabilize and to still have a tornado threat. And as Tony mentioned, we saw he was on those soundings already indicating a PDS tornado, which again, if you remember from our last video, I think it was the last one or the one before that, we talked about what PDS means, which was a particularly dangerous situation. So definitely want to be in a space where you can have your plan ready and staying close to that, so you're ready to execute it as soon as possible, Mike.
And that's for sure. And if you take a look here, pulled up some other data here. So we've got the nationwide composite radar set up. Severe thunderstorm watch is already up, and the tornado watch for extreme southern Kansas. And if you remember last night, Austin said that he did have quite a bit of concern for Kansas and points to the immediate east and a little bit south, like down into Arkansas and then over into Missouri as well, and that's being borne out right here. We've got a couple of storms here, and the composite radar is suggesting a 1 inch hail flag already right around Salina. Nice storms here going up. But and again, we don't cover this area, but I just put this up literally to show you that the game is already on a couple of states west. Okay, and this is what's coming this way. This is what you need to prepare for. And something else we've already got some multi clusters of storms in our region right here, Springfield down to Litchfield, and then over here to just southeast of Taylorville. We've already got some showers and storms popping up in popcorn fashion right here. So it would be nice if that continues and if we get something coming through earlier tonight to mitigate that threat. Honestly, I don't see it in the data. Tony, Austin, I don't know. You guys may very well disagree with me, and that's fine. And that's what we do when we're forecasting for you folks, is that we talk it through, we debate points of interest, points of contention, and try to come up with a consensus to keep you guys safe. But I just wanted y'all to see this. Look at that huge severe thunderstorm watch and then the tornado watch. The counties immediately below there, right on the Oklahoma Kansas line.
Yeah, and Mike, that area where we're seeing already can already give us an idea of what we'll expect heading in tomorrow. I mean, if you take a look at it right now, we're seeing those individual storms near Kansas, right, and into Nebraska. Now, if you look real closely, you can actually almost see, these storms going to connect as they continue moving further northeast. And as that low pressure pulls them that way, this looks like the system that would be to miss us in the morning and to affect portions of northern Illinois and far northern Indiana. So, Mike, if you zoom out a little bit for me there, you can actually see where those storms look like they can actually become linear as they start to move further northeast.
And that's for sure. And I'm just going to go ahead and let the computer ingest the data for the loop here, and it will gradually settle down. It's just that for all of you watching the stream, it looks very choppy initially, and it does that just because this is compiling and absorbing data from all of the NextRad radar network in the United States. And it takes a minute for it, even on very fast computers, to draw this and for you to be able to see it. So there it is. It's kind of smoothed out there, and you can definitely see what Austin is talking about, how these storms have popped up and to the east of Hayes, and they're becoming linear already.
Right, and you can see as they continue to move northeast on that loop that you'll start to see more and more storms develop in between them, eventually going to connect. And on their trajectory, you can already see that they're going to impact portions of northwestern Missouri, then into northeastern Missouri, then into western Illinois, portions of southeastern Iowa, and then further north from there. So those are areas that are going to be impacted. Now, if this continues to be the case here as those move forward, we would actually stay dry here in the tri-state and in the Ohio Valley area. And that, again, is not a good scenario for us, because that means that we'll continue to be in that warm sector, just collecting that warm, moist air, priming the atmosphere even more to kind of explode for us as we head into tomorrow, Mike.
Yep, 100% these storms. And so the best thing that we can do is hope that that low comes a little bit closer to the tri-state, stays out of Wisconsin, and maybe tracks through this area here, tracks through basically, say, Des Moines, the Quad Cities, Chicago, that area, or maybe even a little further south. That would be the best scenario, because that would likely force some of that convection to develop over Indiana and maybe dampen down some of the dynamic support. Not counting on that being the scenario, though. We still think that this is going to be a high impact event for sure. Tony, you've been taking a look at data behind the scenes. Anything of interest that you can share with us?
No, at the moment, I'm going over the significant tornado parameters and the supercell composite, and the significant tornado parameters as all this advances towards our area begins to spike up, especially from the Interstate 64 corridor and points south and down into Western Kentucky, and especially down into parts of Arkansas and Tennessee.
Yeah, Tony, I would agree with that because the further south you go, you're going to get warmer air, higher chances of staying dry because you get further away from that low pressure, and then you get more of that wind shear as that cold front starts to move in. Now, remember that front that moves in for us too actually becomes more of a stationary front. So we're going to see that front sit there as it begins to move in, and that again, that's going to provide us that warm sector that we need to have these storms just kind of pop up throughout the day. And so I think that's what's concerning for us is that it's not just going to be a one and done round for us this time. That stationary front that sits there, that warm, moist air is going to continue to come in. And then we're going to have that continued rainfall after the significant event. So don't expect just, one line of storms to come through and then we're done. This is going to be a situation where we could see multiple supercells, kind of line up right behind each other and affect possibly even some of the same areas that were hit prior.
I
And
will
then
say that.
go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Tony.
I will say that this. I'm not going to say the setup reminds me of June 7th, 1981. It's just the scenario reminds me of June, the time period, the week of June. I say June 7th. I'm sorry, June 8th, 1981. Um, when that big storm came through here and just literally knocked down a bunch of trees throughout the city. That whole week, we had we continued to get strong to severe thunderstorms, and I do recall that week we did get a lot of rain. Nothing like what we're facing now, but this kind of reminds me of how the worst storms went through, and then after that we had periodic strong and severe thunderstorms the remainder of that week.
And Tony and Austin, as I take a look here at some of the parameters, looking at the Cape, and remember we talked about that last night. And then when I'm forecasting, I like that mixed layer Cape because thunderstorms, it's more often than not the exception rather than the rule that they get that idealized perfect setup where basically it's the most unstable Cape that's in the model run. The mixed layer tends to be more often than not a more accurate representation. But I'm looking here right now and we're still between 1600 joules of energy, and that is at, I want to say that's 9 o'clock. So this is at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So there will definitely be plenty enough energy in the area, no problem here. And let's take a look. Let's see. So that's the fixed layer STP. You know what? And what Tony was looking at here when he was looking at the soundings. Let's see if we can pull this up here. You see that right there, that TOR, that means that based on the data that is contained in the model at this time, tomorrow afternoon, conditions are favorable for tornado formation.
Go to hour number 30.
Take a look at hour 30, okay?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Is that HRRR00Z? Hang on.
Yep.
I may have given you the wrong one. Hang on.
But I think what's good to notice here, if you can, while Tony's looking that up, could you go back to the mixed layer Cape real quick?
The ML Cape, sure. One second.
I think, what's a really good demonstration here is you notice right there towards the end. Yep, if you can just keep looping that back in and out. Yep, right, just like that. So you see how that the Cape is getting pulled further north every time that he goes forward there. And that is that low pressure just shooting off to the north and pulling in that Cape. So the further north that we see that go, the stronger the pull that it's going to be. And we could actually see some of that Cape drive into our area. I would say you could even probably expect some of the convection values to be near 2,000 joules per kilogram.
I would not be shocked to see that at all. The other thing, let's take a look at here. We always like to look at dew point because dew point is an excellent proxy for moisture in the air. And then look at that moisture streaming in. This has gotten more aggressive as we have gone through the runs here. This is at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And look at this. We're already in the mid 60s in Western Kentucky and in Southwestern Illinois. So that's 7, that's 10 a.m., that's 1 p.m., 60, 65, 67, mid to upper 60s all across the region. And then look at as that low keeps going, it's pulling all of that all the way up into southern Michigan.
Yeah, and
And
then
we've
in
even,
Western Kentucky, there you near 70 in
yep,
far portions of southwestern Kentucky, and that is, a very good indicator that, again, the further south you go, the more moisture you're going to see, the drier you're going to be, and the more primed you're going to see. So, my main concern for tomorrow, as of right now, would definitely be Western Kentucky. But that does not mean that, further north into the tri-state, you're out of the woods by any means. We'll still see some significant severe weather for us tomorrow. But I definitely see multiple supercells developing across the area for tomorrow, which is something we want to be on the lookout for. And I think that sometimes that can get lost in translation. And I'm sure Mike and Tony can agree with me here that we talk about the data. Some of the data might not look as exuberant as previous models, but that's because every time that we get closer, it's again, that algorithm is just adding things in and spitting out what it thinks is we're going to see. And every time that we get a little bit closer, things become a little bit more accurate for us. And again, I believe that this is actually going to be more of an evening threat than an afternoon threat for us. So whereas, the model shows right now that you could see Cape values near, 14, 1500 around 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, by 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, I anticipate those Cape values to be near 2000. I expect to see that wind shear starting to be more effective. If you look up at the sky tomorrow night as the sun is setting, I'm sure you'll see clouds moving in different directions. That is that wind shear. The higher you go, the change in speed and direction. And that's not what you want to see when we have all these parameters in place. So while the data can get confusing sometimes, what I don't want to get lost here is that tomorrow we are expecting a much wider spread, more intense, severe outbreak than what we saw on Sunday. And I definitely want everyone to get prepared for that. Because even if things do die down a little bit in the morning and kind of dampen things, there is plenty of time throughout the afternoon where we will see temperatures nearing 80 degrees, dew points nearing 70, strong wind directions, changing speed and direction the higher they go in the atmosphere, all leading up to a tornado threat throughout tomorrow evening, Mike.
that is for sure. And I'm taking a look here. This is the simulated infrared satellite. Okay, so what this is the model's idea of the how high up in the sky the cloud tops are going to be. Your scale is down here. Okay, so this is clear skies right here, okay? Where we've got these temperatures and the readout is up. You know what? Let me turn the readout off because I don't want to confuse anything, at least right now. All of this is clear skies here. So this is at 7 a.m. tomorrow. So if this is right, 7, 8, 9, 10, we're going to have sun for the first few hours of the day, then around the showers and thunderstorms moving into the region, probably thunderstorms because as I look here, if you look, you see how we're getting very quickly into these oranges and yellows and so forth. So that is from 50 to 60, and that's degrees Celsius, and that's below 50 to 60 below. So you got to go a little ways up in the air to get that cold. Okay. You have to go a little ways up off the ground. So we're looking at probably 25, 30, 35,000 feet. Now, here's what I want you to watch and what Austin was saying about this being an evening event. Okay. So we're going to get probably, if this is right, some storms here, right here. I want you to watch this. Look at that blow up. And those are gray and black. So we're talking 65, 70, maybe even 75 below Celsius. That's 35, 40,000 feet in up thunderstorms potentially. That's what that look is right there. And then that goes all the way. That's 1 a.m. Then we've got a big cloud, kind of cloud shield here. So this indicates to me that we're just going to end up with a big, messy, linear segment situation, almost like what we had Sunday, but the intensities are going to be ratcheted up quite a bit. Now, again, my disclaimer: one model, one run, one solution. I guarantee you this is going to change between now and 7 a.m. in the morning, especially because this high resolution model is run hourly by the National Weather Service. Tony and Austin.
Yeah, Mike, I think if you go back to the beginning there where it shows that we could see some showers in the morning hours, you'll actually notice that it's already kind of running off to the northeast there pretty quick. So, and you'll notice that we see that leading edge there kind of jump out and, it stretches down. That could very easily change that we see that actually dissipate or be put further north there, and that we just see, maybe a small shower or two, because you realize, right over, I mean, it just clips southwestern Indiana near Evansville. If you go forward a little bit, right there, take a look at that. Southern Indiana, Evansville, you can actually see a small portion of it still exposed there. So, this is one of those things that it is not guaranteed, like Mike said, and so if that pushes off just a tad further north from us, we stay dry tomorrow. And that, again, we kind of preached this on Sunday. Seeing sun out there, seeing dry conditions is not a good thing. And I think one thing to mention too as well is we already have a wind advisory in place as well for our area. So having that wind advisory in place already tells you that there's going to be plenty of wind speed, plenty of wind shear available. And we saw that kind of explosion of those storms, and that's what's concerning us. We're not concerned about the first round of showers. And even if we do see some, they might pack, maybe a little bit of a punch, some small hail, thunder, lightning, things of that nature. But it's going to be the evening hours that we really have to be, on the lookout for and have our guard up.
Yep. So Tony, I know you've probably, I've seen your eyes look like kind of going side to side. I think you're examining more data there as Austin and I are kind of spelling things out for the audience. What in your research there is we draw closer to this event? Any new findings, anything significant that should be passed along to our listeners?
Yes, I'm checking out the curves in the photographs.
Okay, and that's a great. Let me get the forecast loop back up here, and we'll go to the simulated. So this is the future casting. We've already got another run coming in. We can't see a whole lot with this one just yet though, because we've only this one only goes out 18 hours. The 12Z, so the 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. runs of the HER are the ones that contain basically 2 days worth of data, 48 hours. So let's get out here and take a look. See, my concern with this is that this is showing broken lines. This is only showing it's a line, but it's only kind of a semi-cellular one. And that's really what's got us concerned, because if you want tornadoes, taking a look at this presentation here, that's enough elbow room for storms to get loose and do their thing. And Tony said he was taking a look at the photographs here. Let's see. So that's, yeah, tornado. So what Tony is looking at, he's looking up here. This is the photograph. This is basically speed and direction of the winds from the ground up about 3 miles up, 6 kilometers. When you see the speeds, when these photographs get long and they have these kind of snakes and loops shapes in them, that is indicative of plenty of plenty of spin in the atmosphere. And that's what you need if you want tornadoes. You have to have plenty of propensity to rotate, propensity to spin.
And we definitely don't want to see supercells break out ahead of that main line because the supercells will increase the tornado threat.
And this is already here again. If you take a look right there, I'm circling with the cursor, that TOR. So that means tornado, basically. And
Yeah.
if you look here, there is fairly decent shears we get up into the jet stream levels because we're due south or maybe very slightly south southeast winds at the surface of about 20 knots. So that's going to be about 25 miles an hour or so. And then as we get up to about 18,000 feet where the jets play, that's the 500 millibar level. We've gone from due south to southwest, and then we turn a little bit further to west southwest as we go higher up toward the very top of the atmosphere, about 30, 40,000 feet up.
Yeah, Mike, and if you don't mind, real quick, I'd love to share my screen real quick
Yeah.
and show this because I think this model, this is the 0Z that came through not too long ago. The 1Z is being updated right now, but taking a look here, you'll notice so 0Z is 6 p.m. for us, right? So if we get to 0Z right here, that's 6 p.m. You kind of see how that's all broken, and that's concerning for us. But notice here on this model, you don't see a lot during the morning hours coming through, staying dry, right? So that's why we say these models continue to change. There's not much happening here, between the timing there. We see that at 21Z early on, that's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we go back to 21Z, which is right here. We're still dry. So we've gone through the morning hours with basically no precipitation besides maybe being clipped by just a quick pop-up shower, which wouldn't do much for us. But then there's this explosion right here, and you have all these little cells right out ahead of it. That is very concerning. Notice Western Kentucky seeing that, some of Tennessee in there, but even here, that line doesn't really connect until it moves out of our region, which then it becomes really linear at that point. And then as we head into the next few days, those are those extra rounds of rainfall that come in right there. But this is what I would say would be the most concerning, right? This model indicating that we have these little individual cells broken right here around, I'd say right around 6 o'clock, we noticed that moving in. So, for me, I think this is a great opportunity where we saw on the pivotal model that we saw showers moving in the morning, kind of dampening things, whereas here, not so much. We don't see much happening in the morning, and then we have a more intense late afternoon and evening into the overnight hours, Mike.
Hey, real quick, I'm taking a look at the NAM 3KM on College of the Page, and the significant tornado parameters are maxed out over southern Illinois, and it's up to a 7.1 over the Evansville metro area.
Yeah, let me pull that up. I will pull up the most recent run that we had. This one's at 53%. We still should be able to get that. So let's see what we got right there. We'll put it there, and we'll go down to convection.
As a matter of fact, me to interrupt you, Austin. Some of it is off the charts over southern Illinois.
Yeah, take a look at that. I got it right here, Tony. And if we go ahead,
we look at that.
I'm going to go ahead and click on that. We got an 8.2 there. And so here we're going to pull up this sounding real quick. And once this gets loaded in, my computer's being really slow for me today. There it is. Here we go. So this is that sounding that we're looking at. And again, as Mike was saying earlier, we're seeing different directions here, and this basically indicates, hey, we're seeing tornado qualifications here, right? For all the parameters that we need to see, this qualifies for us to say that we are going to see, the likelihood of tornadoes in our area tomorrow. And again, that's another model, right? So this is not, we're not just looking at one model. I think if I go back to the HRRR here and have that up, you can still see in here the significant tornado parameter still reaching 7.2 is what I just had it on there. And then I moved my finger. We'll see 7.1. So, we have plenty of opportunity tomorrow to see tornadic activity. And again, this is not on just one model. Oh, I wasn't even sharing there. Let me jump back. Here we go. This is on the HRRR model. that we were just on. So we were on the NAM previously that Tony was talking about, and this is the HRRR model. You'll notice that if those storms in the early morning hours stay off to the north, man, northern Illinois, northwestern Indiana, going to be in big trouble for us tomorrow. But we stay dry, and that leads us into the evening hours, which then things really start to ramp up for us right in there. Take a look at that. Let's see what we got here. So we got 6.8. I saw 6.9 right there. And if I take that one off and I'm able to, no, mine doesn't want me to pull it up. So, but again, this is a good example that we're not just using one model and telling you guys that, hey, tomorrow's going to be a bad day. I can switch. Let's put it.
Check out the 3KM.
Let's put it right there. And then we go ahead and jump right here. So between those two models, those are lining up as far as what we're seeing. These are the significant tornado parameters. So 1 more hour ahead there. Well, I should say 3 more hours ahead there and for the NAM. And that brings us again back to where Tony said 8.0, 8.2. So when the models line up like this, and then if we jump into the European model, the Cape values should line up for us as well with what we're seeing. So right there, we see Cape values 2,300, joules per kilogram there. So everything is lining up with what we're seeing, all the models. None of the models are telling us that, hey, this is going to miss you or it's going to be less intense than what you think. No, all the models are telling us that we have a very intense, severe weather outbreak on tap for tomorrow, guys.
Hey, and the NAM 3KM is more significant than the 12KM.
Let me see if I can get that.
On the significant tornado parameter and the supercell composite.
Yeah, let me pull that up. Select model. Where are we at here? The 12K.
It's under NAM Nest.
That's okay. That's what I thought. Here we go. And that's our Cape values. They're already looking at that. But let's take a look at the tornado parameters like Tony said here for us. Yeah, I mean, just take a look at that. You see those pinks, purples, blues. I mean, that's a dangerous day for us.
Go to 00Z.
Let's take a look. Right there. Okay. And we zoom in here.
On the actual model run itself. Go to the.
You want to see? Okay, yep. Yes. I got you. Let's go ahead. 0Z. There we go. Yep, that looks nasty. Nasty. Take a look at that right there. The explosion that we're seeing right here. That's as high as you can get. That's off the charts, right? We take a look at the graph down below.
Louise.
We're at a 10 right here. Well, guess what? You're at 11.3 here. You've gone off the chart at this point. And let's go ahead and see. Unable to get sounding. Okay. Well, this is what Tony was looking at and likely getting that PDS tornado warning, because when you have parameters like this, you're talking about intense, violent tornadoes, guys.
Wow. Seeing that is goodness. I am almost at a loss for words, and that tends to be a rarity for me. But holy smokes, will you look at that? Put that back up there, Austin, if you can, please.
Yep.
Yeah, the on College of the page. I'm sorry, on College of the page, it won't let you pull up the sounding for some reason.
Yeah, I know. I'm not getting it right now, but I'm sure.
Is that the latest run of the? Is that the latest her run that you're looking at, or
Yes.
is that 0Z?
That's the NAM 0Z on the 3K model. It's actually still loading in at 78%.
Okay, so that's the high res NAM that is still updating. Okay, I just want to, because I'm going to take a look at it here on Pivotal while you guys look at it there. I want to see what it what
Now
it's saying here.
these are the updraft helicity swaths, and you take a look at this too, and it runs right through our area. You're seeing intense updrafts uh, running right through the tri-state area. So again, everything, all the data that we are seeing, guys. I mean, it's I can't stress it enough that tomorrow is going to be an intense, severe weather day. If you thought that Sunday was bad, then it's time to buckle up because you're going to be exposed to larger hail, stronger winds, possibly violent tornadoes. Have a plan in place. Have somewhere that you know where you're going to go. You have communications with your family members to keep track of everybody because tomorrow is going to be a really strong day. And you'll notice that when we have the significant tornado parameters up here, uh, we see that even far north, that their significant tornado parameters are really high there, 10.4 there in northern Illinois. But you go into the updraft helicity swaths and you're not seeing too much. They're not as intense here. And that's, again, because we're going to see higher levels of shear the further south that you go, guys.
Wow, that is definitely eye-opening. So I tell you what here, let's do, let me try to find one, trying to hunt up my other graphics here so we can take a look at those here.
Yeah. And
I
I'm
I'm
just
like yeah, and I'm like you, I got about 8,000 windows open on my computer right now.
Same here.
Man. So okay, I believe I've got it here just about.
And the dew
Let's
points
see.
went up. Well, Rusty, that's a great comment that you put on there. So we looked at those just a little while ago, and actually, one of our forecasters, Brandon, had replied, saying we will get up to the upper 60s to near 70 degrees in dew points. And actually, we saw in far southwestern Kentucky, those dew points were actually reaching 70 when Mike was on there earlier. So yeah, the dew points have gone up from just a couple days ago when we were seeing them in the lower 60s, jumping up to near 70 now for us as well.
And I see here, longtime friend of the page, JD Rapp, there says he's got his tornado shelter. He's addressing Tony directly, ready to go. Concrete safe room, ready to activate if need be. JD, sounds like you're all set, my man. So you're loaded for bear when these storms come through. It sounds like you have set yourself up for success as far as trying to get a best case scenario outcome organized here. So let me go ahead here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen real quick, and we'll take a look here. So this is this is where we're at right now, guys. We'll kind of sum it up here right now, okay? For tomorrow, severe weather alert day. You're going to see that. You're going to see that red on our graphics for the rest of the week. It's a widespread, high impact, severe weather is expected tomorrow into Thursday. And we're not saying possible. Notice we're saying expected. We're all but saying guaranteed because, again, we're not perfect. We're not the big man above, as I like to call him. We don't know. Stranger things have happened. I don't see how we get a pass here with all the data, especially what we've been looking at the last few minutes. Moderate risk with 2 rounds of severe weather for the region. All severe modes are likely heavy rain, wind, and hail, plus tornadoes. Some of those EF2s are better. And the event could start as early as 10 a.m. That's round one. And then the second round is going to come through tomorrow afternoon and evening. Okay. So that's what we've got going right now. So here's what you guys need to do. If you didn't do it today, please try to do it tomorrow because all of the data is consistent and showing it looks like a very narrow window of time up until about 10 a.m. where you can do this. Have a site built location to go to in case you come under a severe thunderstorm or a tornado warning. Get your weather radio set up or regular radio or TV. Those are great resources as well. Make sure your wireless emergency alerts are turned on in your cell phone settings and charge your phones and tablets. Assume that the power is going to go out. You need to be able to pick out your location on our radar maps during the coverage. And something that I've added here, please take note of this right here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do this. I want to do this. Please take note of this right here that I'm circling right now because we get this, and I understand people are uptight. people are wound up. People are concerned because, yes, Austin, Tony, and I are jumping up and down saying this looks like it's going to be mad. But please take some heart, take some comfort in this for just a moment, if you would. If we aren't talking about your town or area when we're doing the coverage, in all likelihood, you're okay for the moment. It's our job to make sure that these storms don't sneak up and get the drop on you. So if we're not talking about you, you're very likely good to go because we're using our energy and our breath to talk about somebody else. Okay. So please prepare and charge your phones again. Needed medication supplies available. Power's going to go out. Remember, we've got the significant rain threat here as well that is possible. And then, of course, the tornado precautions. You hear me beat these into the ground during a severe weather event. If you're in a car or a mobile home, not going to cut it. If I were you, I would try to find a site-built structure, family, friend, hotel if you've got the financial wherewithal to do that as well. You don't want to be in a mobile home, and you may want to plan on possibly being there for a couple days based on the heavy rain that we're expecting. You want to get to the lowest floor of the building you're in for a tornado. If you're below ground in that basement or cellar where you've got a concrete safe room like JD, so much the better. Get to the center part of the structure you're in, preferably a small room away from windows, many walls between you and the outside as you can get. Most importantly, cover up pillows, blankets, soft items, helmet of some sort on yourself and your family members, sturdy table, flip over a sofa, crawl under that, thick soled shoes, long pants, hunker down. Okay, hunker down. Now, once we're done here, the other thing you want to pay attention to is if we start getting into the flash flood warning situation, then the logic becomes reverse. You're going to want to go up to higher ground just in case. So, but to sum it up, guys, dangerous few days ahead. We're going to do our very best to keep you safe and give you as much warning and as much lead time and as much information we can. But we can lead you to the water. We can't make you drink it. We need you guys to take this seriously, sit up and pay attention and do your part to keep yourselves and your loved ones safe because we do not want to be reading about you online or on any one of the local media outlets that you got hurt or worse because of not taking action when you needed to or making a bad decision thinking you would be okay where you are if it's not the best place to be. Tony, Austin?
Yeah, and Mike, yeah, I think we are seeing a lot of comments come in about if we're going to see a high risk tomorrow. I would say that if we don't see a high risk by the morning tomorrow, you likely won't see one. But I don't think that that should make a difference for tomorrow in your plans because high risks are exceedingly rare, usually only about maybe between 1 to 3 a year if you're lucky. And so a 4 out of 5, if you're in that moderate risk area, you're as close to a high risk as you can get. So, again, you don't want to wait and see and say, oh, well, I'm going to wait for a high risk to come out. And if it doesn't, we'll be okay. No, believe me, multiple EF4 tornadoes, EF5 tornadoes have been recorded in a moderate risk level, right? Extremely violent tornadoes. I'm not saying that we will see an EF4 or EF5 tomorrow, but it's the point that you don't have to have a high risk to see such a violent tornado happen. So again, take that into consideration. As for if we will go live again in the morning tomorrow, I don't know if we're going to go live directly in the morning. That's something that we'll talk about behind the scenes. It's all going to depend on that first round of showers and storms. If we see some warnings out there coming in for tomorrow morning, then I think absolutely Mike and myself would definitely be here to help guide you guys through that. But again, the primary threat going to be tomorrow evening. And I know that I'm definitely making sure I'll make myself available. I know Mike has already said the same. And so, again, great question, Zach. If we'll be live in the morning, again, it just depends on the weather scenario and what we see and what rounds come in first. And then we have another comment for Ashley Phelps. I don't know if you can pull up the risk area one more time before we
Sure can.
off live.
Sure can. And the other thing that I'll show you is one of our admin, Winona, one of our amazing admin support team here. and on the page, as well as some of our other folks behind the scenes. We are trying to get a list of shelters put together so that way you can take a look here, and or you can take a look and see exactly where you can go to be safe tomorrow if you're in that situation where you're in a mobile home or a trailer park or something like that, something that's not a site built structure that would only offer minimal protection, and to be quite blunt, potentially turn into a death trap during a high impact severe weather event. So we're going to have that posted for you. Here's the risk area right here. This is the Taurus. So let me go to the categorical. So there's that right there. So Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Boot Heel of Missouri, Tennessee here. This is the moderate risk outlined in red right here. The darker, the orange that surrounds that is the enhanced risk, 3 out of 5. Then you got slight, marginal, and garden variety thunderstorms. So that's the risk area right there. The area of most concern, Evansville is in it because that's Vanderburgh County right there. That's Posey County in Indiana as well, Southern Illinois, and then the western third of Kentucky. Okay. Tornado risk, if you see that cross hatching right there, that is an at least 1 in 10 shot for significant tornadoes, which are EF2 or stronger. Those are what we classify as strong and violent. Okay, so to answer your question, there's your risk area right there. Okay, so I'll just let you take a look at that. And then there's the tornado risk area right there. So that should answer that question. And as far as what was being said about the high risk, yes, very rare, because I'll put it to you this way. We're only about 24 hours away from we were only about 24 hours away from the event, maybe even less than that. We're something like 12 or 14 probably now at the most. Look at how long it took the Storm Prediction Center to sift through the data, to examine it, to deliberate, to discuss, to decide that, yeah, we need to go with a high risk. Those conversations go next level when they're thinking about putting out a higher risk, because if they go 5 out of 5, the Storm Prediction Center, I can't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do not remember a time when a high risk has gone out that totally busted. If they put out a high risk, they're essentially saying that it's going to be a slam dunk, that somebody is going to have a high impact, potentially life changing encounter with severe weather in the area that they delineate. So those are used very infrequently and with great, great, great care and consideration.
Absolutely, Mike. I mean, that was a fantastic way to put that. And I think, to mention in there as well that, being in the moderate risk area, as I said, you can definitely still see significant severe weather, but you want to take into consideration that being in that area, in a 4 out of 5, just hours before the event is supposed to happen, they're pretty confident. I would say that the only reason that we don't see a high risk is because of that aspect that could see some of those morning showers and thunderstorms. But let me put it to you this way: if the morning showers and storms were going to affect the intensification so much, or the re-intensification into the afternoon and evening, they would not have put a moderate risk out if they thought the morning showers and storms would have impacted that much. They probably would have left it at an enhanced or a slight risk and said, hey, you know what? We're going to see some convection in the morning. Some showers are going to go through. It's going to restabilize the atmosphere, a slight risk of severe weather. But no, they're seeing the same data that we are, that there could be morning showers and storms, and they went ahead and upgraded us to a 4 out of 5 anyway. That should tell you that there is confidence that tomorrow evening we will see very impactful, very intense severe weather. Mike?
Yep, we're finishing up the NCAA basketball tournament, and I know people are like, "What the heck are you talking about the NCAA basketball tournament for in a severe weather forecast discussion session?" I like sports. Austin likes sports. Tony does. Hopefully, there's a lot of sports fans out here. I'm thinking basketball, so I'll put it to you this way: if we were to see a high risk tomorrow, that's a slam dunk, as I said. 4 out of 5, that's pretty much an uncontested layup, or maybe one defender to beat to get that layup on the basketball court. That is how confident the Storm Prediction Center meteorologists are that we're going to have some significant weather that's potentially going to cause some major concerns and some major headaches, property damage, and all that type of thing. And we're not even really covering the rain that's going to follow this up the next few days, because that's why we've got the severe weather alert going to the weekend. Because after this, we've got potentially another round of severe that we're looking at in the Friday time frame. We'll discuss that after we get through this one. But we're going to have rain hanging around for days, which we really don't need, but we're going to get, and we're going to have to address it. Any parting shots, Tony or Austin?
Yeah, we
No,
had.
thank. Go
Oh, I'm
ahead.
sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
So we had one more comment on here that I just saw. So basically, the same reason they chose to go moderate this time is the same reasoning why they chose not to go moderate on Sunday. Correct? Oh, right. I would say that in essence, right, we saw on Sunday that there was going to be a chance for showers and thunderstorms, but we actually saw some daytime heating there. This was not that particular reason, John. The main reason was that most of that bulk shear actually stayed off way farther north. That is not the case for us this time. We will have ample shear available. I've actually seen some models indicating near 80 knots, close to 90 at times. So ample shear available for rotation for these storms. So that's why they actually went ahead and upgraded us to a moderate this time, is because there are actually more parameters available for tomorrow than there were on Sunday.
Yep, and I'm pulling this up right now. This is the bulk shear. So this is basically the turning of the winds with height in the lowest 3 miles of the atmosphere. Okay, up to about six. You figure 6 kilometers. You figure a little over 2 kilometers, are in a mile. So this is the lowest 15 to 16,000 feet of the atmosphere here. So if you take a look, you can see it actually gets better as we get into that's that's 2 a.m. That's 3 a.m. Thursday, 2 1. And the other thing we can take a look at here is the updraft helicity. So that is the propensity of updrafts and the thunderstorms to turn. That's basically the helicity swaths that we were talking about. And then you see, look at this one right here. Look at it, look at that guy right there. This one. And that thing is going basically literally just north of Posey and Vanderburgh counties. That's going to be a close shave for Vincennes, and then it really kind of intensifies there. So definitely a lot of things to be concerned about. But as Austin said, the models were into two camps as to where that dynamic support, where that shear was going to set up. And that was the deciding factor in the Storm Prediction Center saying, we don't have enough certainty to support going with a moderate, because this split solution in that part has persisted for such a long period of time, right? So that's one of the many things that we kind of have to be aware of and figure out and be concerned with.
Yeah, and John, yeah, we want to thank you for asking the questions. It's the viewers that we're trying to reach out to. So when you have these questions and you have these concerns, we definitely want to try to address them for you guys and answer them. And I think, Mike, it's been almost an hour and 15 minutes here, and we've been preaching and just preaching that tomorrow is going to be a significant event. I don't want anyone to think that you can take your foot off the gas as far as your severe weather plan for tomorrow. Don't have that in your mind. Have in your mind that you're going to execute it tomorrow. At some point tomorrow, you will have to execute your severe weather plan. Have that in your head, so you're prepared and you're not caught off guard. Mike.
That's for sure. Tony, you had a thought or two here before we land this plane and try to rest up for what's going to be a difficult day, difficult 18 hours or so tomorrow.
I just want to end it in saying everyone needs to think about where they're going to be, the time of day, and what they're going to be doing. Be alert. Follow our page for the latest updates. We're not coming live to hype this up or anything. This is you've seen everything. It's a fact. You've seen it all over social media, even leading up to today. Um, this the what we're under right now, what we're facing, the ingredients that we're going to be under tomorrow. We have not seen a setup like this in many years, and this is something you have to take serious and not play around with. Make sure you have a severe weather safety plan in place. Don't wait till the last minute to figure out where you're going to go.
That is absolutely correct. And that's why, to sum it up, that is the mode we are in. We are officially in severe weather alert mode, and we will be staying there at some point for the next 4 days. Okay. So take the time tomorrow. You very likely will have a couple of hours tomorrow if for some reason you procrastinated. But please get yourself together, get that plan ready, and be ready to execute it. So we're going to go ahead and land the plane here. We'll be monitoring the page for comments. We will update information as it becomes available for you. Okay, so for Ohio Valley Weather Watch page founder and managing forecaster Tony Merriweather, meteorologist Austin Stance, forecaster Brandon Flanagan, assistant forecaster Justin Burton, rather, excuse me. And for all of us here at Ohio Valley Weather Watch, I'm seeing your forecaster, Mike Estwick. Thanks for staying with us for this last hour and 16 minutes. We greatly appreciate your support because we couldn't do without you. Stay safe tomorrow. Have a good evening. So long for now.